Jamie Rodriguez stared at the package on her doorstep like it might explode, which, given her luck lately, wasn't entirely impossible. The return address read something unpronounceable with way too many consonants, and the delivery company was definitely not FedEx, UPU, or any other service that normal humans used. "Another one of your weird packages," Mrs. Chen announced from her doorway across the hall. The elderly woman had made it her personal mission to monitor every delivery in their building. "Third one this month. You running some kind of illegal operation?" "Yeah, Mrs. Chen. I'm obviously running a black market exotic pet collar business out of my one-bedroom apartment," Jamie replied, hefting the surprisingly heavy box. "You caught me." Mrs. Chen squinted suspiciously but retreated into her apartment with a disapproving huff. Jamie's golden retriever, Buster, wagged his tail enthusiastically as she brought the package inside. Whatever was in there smelled interesting to his dog brain, which meant it probably smelled weird to everyone else. The box contained what looked like a high-tech pet collar made of some kind of black metal with glowing blue crystals embedded in it. No instruction manual, no return policy, just a collar that hummed with energy and looked like it belonged in a sci-fi movie. "Well, this is either the most expensive dog collar ever made, or someone's playing an elaborate prank," Jamie muttered. The thing was actually pretty stylish, in a futuristic sort of way. During their evening walk, Jamie absent-mindedly clipped the collar around Buster's neck, figuring it couldn't hurt to try it out. The crystals pulsed once, twice, then settled into a steady blue glow. Buster stopped walking. His ears perked up in a way that seemed almost calculating. Then he stood up on his hind legs like a human, and spoke in a voice that definitely did not belong to a golden retriever. "Finally, this primitive form shall suffice for my return to power." Jamie blinked, then blinked again, then looked around to see if anyone else was witnessing her dog's apparent psychotic break. "I am Supreme Commander Vex'tar the Destroyer, Conqueror of 7 star systems, bringer of—" "Okay, hold up there, Napoleon," Jamie interrupted. "Either I'm having a complete mental breakdown, or my dog just claimed to be some kind of space dictator. And honestly, either option explains a lot about my life right now." Buster, or apparently Vex'tar, fixed her with a stare that was definitely not typical golden retriever behavior. "You dare mock the Supreme Commander? I have raised entire civilizations. I have. You have approximately 30 seconds to explain what's happening before I assume I've finally snapped from too much overtime and not enough sleep." The former Galactic Warlord trapped in a golden retriever's body looked genuinely offended. "Your species' primitive brain cannot comprehend. Try me, Fluffy." 20 minutes later, Jamie sat on her couch watching her dog order pizza over the phone while using what he claimed was standard intimidation protocol. "Yes, I require sustenance delivered to my location immediately," Vex'tar barked into the receiver. "Any delay will result in your swift and merciless destruction." Jamie grabbed the phone. "Hi, sorry about that. 1 large pepperoni. Normal delivery time is fine, and please ignore the death threats. My dog is going through some things." After hanging up, she turned to face her new reality. "Okay, so let me get this straight. You're supposedly some galactic warlord whose consciousness got shoved into a magic dog collar after you were defeated by something called the Galactic Alliance? The collar is a containment device designed to imprison my essence until I could be transported to a maximum security facility," Vex'tar explained, then immediately got distracted by a squirrel outside the window. His head snapped toward it with laser focus. The small creature mocks me with its weight. What was I saying? The part where you're supposedly terrifying? Right, yes, I am the scourge of the Outer Rim, the squirrel. Vex'tar bolted toward the window, pressing his nose against the glass and whimpering. Jamie watched the most feared creature in 7 star systems get completely derailed by basic dog instincts. "This is my life now," she muttered. The pizza arrived 30 minutes later. The delivery guy looked nervous when Buster answered the door, walking on his hind legs. "Kneel before your new overlord, pizza servant," Vex'tar commanded. $15.99, the teenager replied, clearly too underpaid to care about talking dogs. After Jamie paid and tipped the unflappable delivery kid, she established some ground rules. Look, Vex, or whatever your name is, if you're going to live here, we need some boundaries. First, no conquering while you're in my apartment. Second, clean up after yourself. And third, absolutely no vaporizing the neighbors, no matter how annoying Mrs. Chen gets. You dare give orders to the Supreme Commander? The Supreme Commander is currently living rent-free in my apartment and eating my kibble, so yeah, I dare. Vex'tar considered this. Your terms are acceptable, for now. But know this, human female. Jamie. Mang me. Know this, Jamie. My former Lieutenant, General Korath, will be hunting for this collar. When he arrives, your primitive world will face annihilation unless I can reclaim my rightful power. Great. So I'm harboring an intergalactic war criminal, and his psychotic ex-employee is coming to destroy Earth. This is definitely not covered in my lease agreement. General Korath was never psychotic, Vex'tar said seriously. He was just very enthusiastic about orbital bombardment. Jamie poured herself a very large glass of wine. It was going to be a long night. 2 weeks into the most bizarre roommate situation in human history, Jamie had developed a routine. Wake up, feed the former galactic overlord, go to work at her mind-numbing accounting job, and come home to whatever chaos Vex'tar had created in her absence. Today's chaos involved her entire apartment being rearranged according to what Vex'tar called optimal tactical efficiency. Her couch now faced the door at a 45-degree angle. All her plants had been moved to strategic defensive positions. And her coffee table had somehow been converted into what looked like a command center. I've established clear sight lines to all potential entry points, Vex'tar announced proudly. Your dwelling is now a fortress worthy of the Supreme Commander. My security deposit is definitely not getting returned, Jamie sighed. The most unsettling development was Vex'tar's obsession with Netflix. She'd come home yesterday to find him binge-watching The Office and taking notes. This Michael Scott is a leadership genius, he declared seriously. His management techniques are revolutionary. That's what she said is clearly a form of psychological warfare designed to confuse enemies. Please tell me you're not planning to model your leadership style after Michael Scott. I am considering adapting his methods. For instance, this Dundee Awards concept could be an excellent way to maintain troop morale. Jamie's dating life had become infinitely more complicated. Her last date with Tom from the coffee shop had ended abruptly when he met Buster. Nice dog, Tom had said, reaching out to pet him. Do not dare touch the Supreme Commander without permission, mortal. Vex'tar had growled. Did your dog just? He's been watching a lot of sci-fi lately, Jamie had interrupted. Really gets into character. The coming storm will test all who dare stand against me, Vex'tar had continued ominously. Tom had left shortly after that. Jamie was starting to think she might die alone, which was ironic since she was technically living with someone who'd conquered 7 star systems. The dog park had become an exercise in damage control. Other dogs seemed to sense that Buster wasn't quite normal anymore, and Vex'tar had strong opinions about pack dynamics. These lesser canines lack proper military discipline, he observed, watching a group of dogs play fetch. In my empire, such chaos would be met with immediate corrective action. They're playing, not conducting military maneuvers. There is no difference. All interaction is warfare by other means. Mrs. Chen had started asking pointed questions about the talking dog sounds coming from Jamie's apartment. Dogs don't usually have such deep voices, she'd mentioned suspiciously, or use so many big words. He's just very vocal, Jamie had replied weakly. And I may have been watching documentaries with the volume up too loud. Documentaries about galactic conquest? Jamie really needed to have a talk with Vex'tar about volume control. The first sign of trouble was the very tall people in obviously fake human disguises lurking around Jamie's apartment building. They wore suits that didn't quite fit right, sunglasses indoors, and had a tendency to walk in perfect formation. "Those are definitely not door-to-door salesmen," Jamie observed, peering through her curtains. Vex'tar's demeanor had changed completely. Gone was the Netflix-obsessed former warlord making commentary about human customs. This was a military commander assessing a threat. "Korath has found me," he said grimly. "We need to leave. Now." "Wait, what? I have work tomorrow. I can't just—" "Your primitive concept of employment will be irrelevant when your planet is a glowing crater." Jamie paused her packing. "Come again?" "General Korath is thorough. If he believes I might regain my power, he will eliminate any possibility of my return, including this entire world." "So you're telling me that your psychotic former employee is going to blow up Earth to stop you from taking over the universe again?" "Korath prefers the term orbital sterilization, but essentially yes." Jamie stared out the window at the badly disguised aliens. "Those guys are going to destroy the planet?" "Oh no, those are just scouts. Korath himself commands a dreadnought-class warship capable of cracking continental plates. Very efficient." "This is insane. 2 weeks ago, my biggest problem was whether to splurge on name-brand cereal, and now I'm harboring a fugitive space dictator while his former lieutenant plans to commit planetary genocide. If it helps, your cereal choice was statistically irrelevant to the larger cosmic picture." "It doesn't help, Vex." They managed to slip out through the building's service entrance, but it quickly became clear they were being followed. The chase through downtown was surreal, Jamie running through crowds while her golden retriever occasionally shouted tactical advice. "Left at the next intersection. Use the crowd for cover. Stop giving me military commands." "Right, my apologies. I suggest we proceed leftward at the upcoming perpendicular street junction while utilizing civilian foot traffic as concealment." "That's worse." They took refuge in Jamie's office building, figuring the generic corporate environment would provide some temporary cover. Vex'tar immediately began analyzing the layout with professional interest. "Excellent defensive position," he observed. "Multiple exit points, clear sight lines, and the maze-like cubicle configuration would slow any assault force significantly." "It's just an office building. All architecture is military architecture if you think about it correctly." That's when General Korath walked through the front door, flanked by 2 heavily armed soldiers in slightly better human disguises. Jamie had about 2 seconds to wonder how this had become her life before everything went completely sideways. The most epic battle in galactic history was about to take place in the accounting department of Henderson Associates, and Jamie had front-row seats to the absolute weirdness of it all. General Korath stood about 7 feet tall, had skin like polished obsidian, and eyes that glowed red in the fluorescent lighting. His human disguise consisted of an ill-fitting business suit and a name tag reading, "Hello, my name is," definitely not an alien. "Supreme Commander," Korath rumbled in a voice like grinding metal, "you will surrender the containment device, or I will demonstrate why your species calls this location the concrete jungle." "I've evolved beyond your simplistic understanding, Korath," Vex'tar replied, which sounded a lot more intimidating than it should have coming from a golden retriever. "These humans have taught me new forms of warfare." "Such as?" Vex'tar grabbed a stapler with his mouth and hurled it at the nearest alien soldier. It bounced harmlessly off advanced armor, but the soldier was so surprised by the absurdity of the attack that he stumbled backward into a filing cabinet. "Psychological warfare," Vex'tar announced. The battle that followed was probably the most ridiculous thing that had ever happened in the history of armed conflict. Vex'tar used his knowledge of military tactics combined with his new understanding of office supplies to create what could only be described as bureaucratic chaos. Jamie found herself surprisingly useful in the fight. While Vex'tar provided strategic guidance, she used her intimate knowledge of the building to their advantage. She triggered the fire suppression system, activated the emergency lockdown procedures, and managed to trap one of Korath's soldiers in the supply closet. The humans adapt. Korath snarled, firing some kind of energy weapon that turned the water cooler into vapor. Impossible. You always underestimated the power of improvisation, Vex'tar called back, somehow managing to operate the copy machine as a distraction while Jamie flanked around through the break room. The turning point came when Jamie realized something that apparently two advanced alien military commanders had missed. Humans weren't primitive, they were creative. While Korath and his forces were trying to fight a conventional battle, she and Vex'tar were making up entirely new rules. Vex, the ceiling tiles. Brilliant. Working together, they managed to collapse a section of the drop ceiling onto Korath's position. The general emerged covered in dust and looking genuinely frustrated. This is not how battles are supposed to proceed. That's exactly the point, Jamie realized. You guys think in terms of fleets and planets and big dramatic gestures. But humans? We think small. We adapt. We use what we have. During the fight, sparks from damaged alien weapons had hit Vex'tar's collar. The crystals flickered ominously, and Jamie could see panic in his eyes. "The containment matrix is failing," he said quietly. "I might be trapped in this form permanently." "Would that be so terrible?" Jamie asked, surprising herself with the question. Korath, meanwhile, was learning the hard way that human buildings weren't designed with alien invasion tactics in mind. The sprinkler system, emergency lighting, and general chaos of a corporate environment after hours created the kind of unpredictable battlefield that no military academy in the galaxy had prepared him for. The Galactic Alliance cleanup crew arrived about 30 minutes after Korath surrendered, which was 30 minutes after he'd gotten his head stuck in a paper shredder and had to be rescued by the very people he'd been trying to eliminate. Ambassador Wren was a tall, elegant alien who looked like someone had crossed a giraffe with a diplomat. She surveyed the wreckage of Henderson Associates' accounting department with what Jamie assumed was professional interest. "In 700 years of diplomatic service," Wren said slowly, "I have never seen a containment breach resolved through the creative application of office supplies." "It was mostly Jamie's idea," Vex'tar admitted, still wearing the damaged collar. "I provided tactical support, but she understood the battlefield better than I did." Jamie faced a choice that she'd never imagined having to make. The collar could be repaired, allowing Vex'tar to return to his original form if he wanted to. Or he could stay as he was, permanently trapped in Buster's body but free to live a normal life on Earth. "What do you want to do?" she asked him. "I spent centuries conquering worlds and never found satisfaction," Vex'tar said thoughtfully. "In 3 weeks with you, I've learned more about leadership, loyalty, and contentment than in my entire previous existence. I choose to stay." Ambassador Wren was fascinated by this development. "You rehabilitated our most dangerous war criminal through what you call setting boundaries and introducing him to a television program about office management?" "And making him clean up his own messes," Jamie added. "That part was important." "Remarkable. Earth shows unprecedented potential for conflict resolution and prisoner rehabilitation." What happened next surprised everyone, including Jamie. Using her accounting skills to analyze galactic law, she'd found a loophole that technically made Vex'tar a refugee seeking asylum rather than an escaped prisoner. Her ability to navigate bureaucracy, both human and alien, impressed the Alliance enough that they offered Earth preliminary membership status. "Humans possess a unique gift," Ambassador Wren explained. "You see potential for redemption even in the most unlikely candidates. The galaxy could benefit from this perspective." 6 months later, Jamie's life had settled into a new kind of normal. Vex'tar still looked like a golden retriever, but now he worked as a security consultant for various Earth-based Alliance operations. His insights into military strategy, combined with his newfound appreciation for human creativity, made him surprisingly effective at his job. Mrs. Chen had finally been properly introduced to Buster and declared him the most well-behaved dog in the building, apparently not noticing that he occasionally took conference calls with Alliance military commanders. The apartment building had been quietly upgraded with some very advanced security systems as part of Earth's new Alliance membership, which meant that Mrs. Chen's complaints about weird deliveries had become irrelevant. These days, they got weird deliveries on purpose. Jamie was walking Buster through the park when her earpiece crackled to life. Security consultant Vex'tar, this is Admiral Torres. We need your assessment of the Centauri border situation. Admiral, based on my analysis of the territorial disputes and the psychological profiles of the involved parties, I recommend a diplomatic approach emphasizing, oh wait, is that a tennis ball? Jamie watched her former galactic overlord get completely distracted by a tennis ball that some kid had thrown for another dog. Vex'tar chased after it with the single-minded determination that had once conquered star systems. Admiral? Came the voice from the earpiece. Are you still there? Sorry, Jamie said, clicking the comm button. The security consultant is currently engaged in tactical recreation exercises. He'll call you back. As she watched Vex'tar play fetch with a group of confused but delighted children, Jamie reflected on how weird her life had become. She was sharing her apartment with a reformed space dictator. Earth was part of an interstellar alliance, and her biggest daily concern was making sure her dog-shaped roommate didn't accidentally conquer anything during his walks. All things considered, it was a pretty good deal.